One of the most difficult parts of public speaking is handling questions that may come from your audience after you've delivered a presentation. In this video, I'm going to give you a few specific strategies of how you can become more confident when these questions come your way and how you will be able to tackle even the most difficult questions with ease. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson. One of my great passions in life is communication, public speaking. I've dedicated my YouTube channel to help make you a better communicator, a more impactful speaker, whether that's through the Toastmasters program or whether that's completely separate. Maybe you're not a member of Toastmasters, you simply want to be a stronger speaker. You have come to the right place. Before I launch into this video, I would ask of you, please subscribe to my channel. Every subscription, it really helps me to focus more and more time and energy to produce great content to help you along this journey that I'm on as well of trying to be the best public speaker possible. So why is it so difficult to handle a question from the audience? Well, first off, you can't prepare for it. When it comes to a speech, you can practice multiple times, and you can really have it dialed in what you're going to say through every part of your speech. But then at the end, if there is time for questions, that is something that unfortunately, you don't know what the audience is going to ask you. And this is something that even some of the most professional public speakers are challenged with. I recently had a conversation with somebody who has become a friend of mine, and he is a professional speaker. He is one of the greatest public speakers in Canada, and he focuses on innovation and disruption. And when we were talking, he explained to me that questions from the audience are something that he has struggled with throughout his entire speaking career, and that he's actively working hard to get better at and be able to handle those because he's got the speech part dialed in. He's a great speaker, but he wants to hone his craft and ensure that he can answer these questions. When I had the chance to ask him, what is your number one tip to somebody who is maybe more of an amateur speaker who is getting these types of questions, he said the thing that has worked best for him is pausing. Pausing after the question is asked. For some reason, when we are on stage or when we are in front of a group of people, everything is sped up. We want to answer quickly, we tend to speak quicker, and our brain is racing, and we're uncomfortable with a little bit of silence. That's the natural way. Many of us struggle to allow a pause of silence to happen, but what this particular individual, who as I mentioned is a great public speaker, what he's come to learn and force himself to do is to simply take a step back and pause. The question will come his way, and he'll allow himself some time to think about what is actually being asked. He won't rush to fill in the silence and give an answer, because often when you do that, a few minutes later, your brain's thinking, oh, I could have given a better answer. And he understands that. So he takes a step back, he allows the question to be absorbed in his brain, he thinks about it, maybe even up to 5 seconds of a pause, and then he delivers an answer. And the audience doesn't find that odd. In fact, they appreciate the fact that he's truthfully thinking about what the question is and delivering a meaningful answer. So that is a first great strategy, is to pause and allow the question to sink in. A second piece of advice that kind of ties into the first that I just mentioned is to repeat the question. This is important to ensure that you have that clarity or that level of understanding with the audience member who has asked the question, because sometimes, especially if there's not a microphone being passed around, if it's a big room, we may not hear what the question was accurately. And so it's a good idea to ask the question or repeat the question to see that the audience member is nodding and agrees that that is indeed what he or she asked of you. But the side benefit to doing this is that it gives you that extra little bit of time to think. Every second matters when it comes to thinking up an answer on the spot. And by repeating the question and having that verbal acknowledgement that that is indeed what was asked, you're allowing your brain a couple more seconds to really think of the question and formulate an answer and then deliver it. The third tip I have is to practice. But wait a second, Wade, didn't you say you can't really practice for a question that is randomly going to be asked of an audience member you may or may not have ever met in the past? Technically, yes, but you can still practice the spontaneity of answering random questions that are asked. One way to do this is to deliver your speech or presentation in front of a friend or family member and task them with asking you 3 to 5 questions after you've done the speech. As that individual is listening, they'll be writing down potential questions. Then at the end of the presentation, you'll know that they were paying attention by the questions that they ask, but those questions will actually challenge you because you don't know what they're going to be from your friend or family member, just like you won't know what they're going to be from the audience member on the day of. But the more you can practice answering random questions, it will make you more comfortable on your feet. And one thing you may notice is that if one person has a question, it's highly likely other people have the same question. So what will happen more often than not is one of the questions from the family member or the friend will actually be a question that you were asked on the day of. And a bonus to this is that it may show you areas of your speech where you need to be a little bit more clear, because if you're getting the same question regularly, obviously there may be some form of gap in how you're explaining the information. So that will help you to tighten up your presentation and make your overall speech more powerful in the future. Okay, so what happens if you get a question that you don't know the answer to and you feel silly because here you are talking about a topic that you're supposed to be an expert on, and the audience member has asked you something and you are stumped? Let's use a specific example to really dial into this. Pretend I'm giving a speech about social media and the various social media networks that are out there. And then an audience member asks me a question about the new social media platform called BeReal. And wow, I have heard of BeReal, but I don't have an account. I've never posted anything on BeReal, and I don't really know a lot of information about this new platform. And yet the audience member wants an answer. What do you do in that situation? I think it's so incredibly important to be honest. Be honest with your audience. If you don't have familiarity with that particular platform or whatever the question is that you are asked of, be upfront with them. But if there's an opportunity, you can always promise them that you will dive deep into what that answer is and follow up after the speech. Maybe you exchange business cards or you have a conversation and you promise that individual, you know what, I'm going to find out the answer because that is a great question. Alternatively, you can give a partial answer while still being honest. So keeping on the example of BeReal, maybe I'm not familiar with that particular platform and I don't have an account, but I do know that its monthly active users are exponentially increasing. I can say to this audience member, while I haven't personally experimented with BeReal, I know that the monthly active users, the data is showing us more and more people are using that platform. So I know for myself personally, it needs to be on my radar, and I think it's a great point that you've brought up, and I think you should definitely check it out and experiment on that platform. It was an honest answer. Even though I don't have the personal experience, I still gave them the information that I know, and hopefully it will be beneficial to that audience member. A final bonus tip of how to be strategic with questions that are asked of you when delivering a presentation is ensure your timing is right. If you're giving an hour presentation, but you fall way short on the speech and you only speak for 40 minutes because maybe you're talking faster than you anticipated, now you have 20 minutes of audience questions potentially. Make sure that your speech is filling most of the time, and if you only have 5 minutes or so for questions, that's still an acceptable amount, a regular amount for the audience to ask you a question, but now you don't have to worry about the majority of your time on stage being spent answering questions that you can't practice for. I hope this video on how to answer difficult questions from audience members has been beneficial to you. As I mentioned earlier, it is one of the most challenging aspects of public speaking. Those questions that you can't do too much preparation for, but I hope the strategies outlined in this video help you out and that you knock it out of the park when it comes to the next questions you're asked in your speech. If you've watched the video this long, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to put out much more great content to help make you a more impactful communicator. I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are looking for a little bit of coaching help with your next speech, I am providing one-on-one evaluations. My contact email is in the video description. Reach out to me and let's discuss what that could look like.